guess what? We are in Q4. And as of today, there is $988 billion spent, which leaves us $702 billion of the $1.7 trillion that is left out in the government. Why do we have to care about this, Rafael Marrero?
Because September 30 is right around the corner, and they need to spend all the money by then or lose it, both for this fiscal year and next year.
Why do they make us do this every year? We didn't make it up, did we?
No. And the funny thing is you gain by spending, which is funny here, which is kind of ironic. But anyway, that's right.
The guy that's dressed up like a politician is telling us that you gain by spending.
I am running for SAM.gov. Right?
Oh my God.
On the opening panel this morning, one of the leadership said the money is literally falling from the sky. There's so much money right now in DOE, DOD. One of the guys said, I don't know what sky you're living under or something like that. But the point is there's a lot of money, like you're saying.
There's a lot of money. All right. So Melissa says confusing. That would be true. And Rod Hudson says fiscal. What is that? Is that something am I missing a word, Rod? Or did you just not use spell check on that?
Maybe it means fickle. Fickle. I think it means fickle.
Fivkel.
A couple other
Rod,
words.
Whatever that word is, we're going to use it for the rest of this thing. Fivkel.
That's it. Makes myself a fickle sandwich.
Fivkel sandwich.
Right after I have my coffee.
Oh boy, it's going to be a wild one today. And absolutely, guess what? We did this report and it's 74%, but I didn't up the, so crucify me for 1%. It is 74% right now, unprecedented that we are only seeing one offer received on a ton of contract actions throughout the federal government. And oh, by the way, only 1.5% are hitting SAM.gov, which is why we created Sam Radar and why Rafael Marrero is going to be soon the president of SamRadar.com.
That's it.
The
SamRadar.com
fan club.
The Glee Club.
Fan club.
All right. So if you are not, first of all, you better be monitoring SAM.gov now because that's starting to really kick up. But you also want to be monitoring awards because if you're not, you're going to miss them. And that's the only place you're ever going to find them, which is why we built what we built. So let me ask you this question. Did you know about the 98% that are not hitting SAM.gov? Because if you know about it, you probably be getting emails from us telling you about it. So did you know that 98% does not hit SAM.gov? Yes, maybe you just knew that you were missing some, but you didn't know it was 98%. And maybe you don't believe it at all. Maybe you just don't have any faith in webinars like this. Right, Irene? Some people are they think everything is being made up on the interwebs.
Well, I find their lack of faith disturbing.
All right. So with that, I'm going to introduce you some characters here that were here. We got with us the good doctor. He is the Kentucky Fried Cuban himself, the Dr. Rafael Marrero, who helps folks with capability statements, capabilities briefings, videos, websites, business cards, making you look like you belong in the federal space. Isn't that true, doctor?
You can run for office you're going to look good. Right?
That's right. So, and if your contracting person says, what, or do you think this is or your marketing person thinks this is what is a capability statement? You got to know who Rafael Marrero is because he does a great job. I send all the capability statements to you, Rafa. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you, man. And we're going to highlight you in just a minute. Greg Clark's not with us today. He is not able to make it, but he helps folks with proposal writing. And if you need help with proposal writing, this is the guy. Take a screenshot, whatever you want to do, making sure you know who he is, because as you get closer to September 30th, you're going to need some help. We have Sally White from location in Marco Island with the Department of Energy people. Is that who it is, by the way? Is it Department of Energy, Sal?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, see that? I did it right.
Energy conference. You did. About 1,000 people here, a lot of customers and contacts, helped them get their LinkedIn game on. Obviously referring them to Dr. Morrow for branding and for Sam Radar to figure out who's buying what. Irene and Greg, Peter, and all the others. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And we'll be reaching out to you as best you can with that connection that you got. With us, we have Peter Timbus, who happens to help folks with funding. Why do people care about that? Because guess what? You win a contract, a $10 million contract, and the government might say, we don't think that you can handle that, right? Peter Timbus?
That's right. We've been funding government contractors for the last 32 years, and we look forward when we look at a client, we lend to their opportunities. And what's important, Dave, is the letter of financial support.
I love it.
Take advantage of the SAM.radar, and we will support you if you're bidding on that contract. Yesterday, I helped a $1 million revenue company win a $30 million contract with our letter of financial support. Without that letter of financial support, he wouldn't have won that contract. So everybody listening today, be proactive, get on SAM.radar. I'll give you the letter to support that opportunity. Do not let access to capital hold you back, because with us, those days are gone.
There you go. I love it. That's fantastic. And what a great story, right? 1 million. That would make a banker's head explode, what you just said, Peter, right?
And that was in the, we do commercial financing too. That contract is with Capital One.
Wow. That's fantastic. So reach out to Peter if you need it. We also have Irene Morales. She is with GPS. She helps folks. What do? You help folks get socioeconomic certifications and such, don't you?
I do. And a quick shout out to Peter, because the letter of financial assistance really helps with the 8A applications, since you need potential for success. So thank you, Peter. But so I do pretty much everything related to paperwork. So whether it's SAM registrations, socioeconomic certifications, legal documents, the works.
Love it. That is fantastic. I love it, love it, love it. So with us, we don't have this guy with us either, because he's doing the FAR crash course right at this moment. He's talking about us while we're talking about him. But yeah, he's a former CMS contracting officer, headed up an entire division with the CMS, knows a lot about HHS, the FAR, everything that deals with if you're more mature in your cycle of your contracting. Some folks are just beginning. Some folks have already won contracts and dealing with CPARs and things like that. That's your guy, acquisitionhelp.com. I am Dave Lowe. I am the CEO of ISI Federal, and I kind of set up this group, but because of exactly what you guys need. I can't do it all. You can't do it all. We all have to specialize in what we do in order to be able to be effective in the federal government. Doesn't everybody agree with that? Nobody's got all the solutions all bottled up into one, right?
Nope. Not even the big four.
Not even them. Not even any of those peoples, right? So, and today I'll be doing a SAM.gov tutorial at 1. So I will get out of here at noon so that I can prep for that. And we're focusing on year-end contracts, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And I'll talk about GovBrief a little, just real quick. This is the process that you can help you reach out to your program managers, as well as federal contracting officers and specialists and buyers, so that they know about you and your contract vehicles. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's okay, because that's what GovBrief is for. And I do want to somebody's blowing me up. Jeez. I do want to share the results about the 98% real quick. So some folks knew about the 98%. A lot of folks had no idea, but they knew something was missing. And then one person is hold on one second. Let me see what this is. Dave Lowe.
Hello, this is Ring Central call.
Jeepers creepers. Oh my gosh, I don't understand what the heck is happening.
No, that's just an example. Dave always picks up his phone. I'm serious. Like all the Sam Radar.
Only when they blow me up 3 times in a row in the middle of something.
That's customer service.
So anyway, There you go. I appreciate the responses for that. GovBrief also for industry. We push information out. That's what we're doing today. We are also, there's a brand new GovBrief. If you want to, everybody can go to govbrief.us and tell me what they think, because it is really, really cool. But we're going to do a call for experts. Everybody here has been involved or will be involved, right, Irene?
Correct.
In one of these sessions, because industry needs to know about how to do business with the government, and the government needs to know how to do business with you. So that's what we want to do. We're bridging that gap. We've been doing it for years, and that's what GovBrief is about. Sam Radar, we've been hearing a lot about that. You can check that out at samradar.com, and I'll put a picture of Rafael Marrero being the president of the Glee Club for Sam Radar. And if you're wondering if this is working, just listen to the people that are using it. I'm telling you, we see things that you can't see anywhere else. And just try it out. And I can tell you, this guy right here was on yesterday in the Monday roundtables, was talking about it again. And he's with a company called Dirt, believe it or not. They're an engineering firm. You can try it for 7 days for free. And I highly recommend you do this right now, because it also includes monitoring SAM.gov as part of that. So what's the one word for doing business with the federal government? We asked this earlier. Let's see who else we got here. And we don't know what physical means, but confusing is always there, right? So multi-layered, impossible, complex, OMG, or all those types of things. The one word I've never heard is fun. Has anybody ever heard that it's fun? Now, that's one of the reasons why we break up a little bit and have fun here, because it's not an easy thing to do. If it was fast, easy, and cheap, everybody would be able to do it. And I'm telling you, it's not. And when I got into this back in 2007, it is a major headache to try to figure out this market. So we love the participation. Please let us know. We will be sharing links and docs. I cannot share the docs today because we transitioned to GovBrief and we're I don't have those yet, but I will get some. We'll do a follow-up for everybody and make sure everybody gets it. If you have questions, raise your hand, put it in the Q&A. We love to engage folks. A quick disclaimer, it's not affiliated with any agency. Your participation doesn't guarantee an award. It's for information purposes only. And if you have any govies here, you can participate, because it's not a commitment to buy from any vendor who is here. And today we will connect you with experts like these folks here. We're discussing what works, highlighting sponsors like Sam Radar. We've been heard a lot about that. If you have no idea what we're talking about, we'll talk a little bit about it. And ultimately, we can't do it alone. I can't do this without Rafa and Sally and Peter and Irene and Brian and the other folks that we've all met, right? And we need resources to help us navigate this market, number one, help us penetrate the market, help us grow in this market. If it was easy, you wouldn't be here, and neither would we. So let's ask this question. Why are you here today? What brought you here? Are you here because you're new? Do you have federal contracts as a sub and you want to be a prime? Were you one of the 116,501 companies that won contracts in 2022 actually? Or some nut sent you an email? Now I know what you mean by that. And if you've been here before, welcome back. If you haven't been here, that's fantastic. We love it when new people come. I am not going to talk about handouts till later. And then any other folks that want to contribute to the one word, because there's a ton of them. I'm going to go grab a couple. From the handouts. Hold on one sec. I'm going to go look at this right now. Anybody else got a one word? What's your one word, Peter Timbus, for doing business with the government?
Be proactive.
Oh, that's great. That's 2 words, dude.
Actually 3, right?
Yeah.
I can't even look up. Say
And no profanity. So I thought that F word may have been something else, but I know you try and keep it clean here, Dave. No profanity.
Nope.
I'm sure we can all think of what that one F word is.
lucrative. I like that. That's on the positive side. Irene is a positive individual. You used to be in a government, right?
I did.
And Tom Wood, there's no way Tom Wood is. Can you believe Tom Wood would say political?
No.
Very bureaucratic. Absolutely.
Yeah, and there you go. Bureaucratic, difficult. Mike says difficult. Yes, and if it was easy, everybody would be able to do it. All right, so we did have just let us know if you have anything else. So this will be the best webinar ever. If this is Felicia, it can tell me how to win bids and contracts. Well, I love that, right? And Cedric says they lay out a blueprint. I love that one, Cedric. We will do our best. I learned techniques for acquiring contracts. Love that one. Speak about year-end fiscal year opportunities. That's one of the hot seat questions today. Your information in contacting buyers is really useful. Love that. How to speak with buyers. We're getting a trend here of how to speak with buyers. And Stu says the presenter presents a platform with proven results. Oh my goodness, thanks for the softball. That's why we're here. And if you'd like to schedule a demo, Rob, you here? Rob, I think Rob is here. Probably. Yeah, Rob is here. Rob's going to put some information in here if you'd like to schedule a demo. All right, let's see who's this. Oh, wow, look at this. 52% are new, guys. That's fantastic. Welcome. New to the world. And we have 5 folks that were actually prime winners. One that was doing subcontracting. A lot of people think I'm a nut. That's shocking, right, Rafa?
Shocking. I said shocking.
Shocking. All right. So, and we have 57% here for the first time. We appreciate you guys joining us. We know you got plenty of things you can do. So the next question that we have is, who do you want to reach? Because guess what? We might have different aspirations, right? Do you want to reach federal buyers, program managers? We're going to talk about the difference between them because they're not the same people, are they, Sally White? She's not paying attention to me. I know she's not. How about you, Irene?
No, they're not the same people. So one of them is going they're completely separate, whereas kind of to avoid conflict of interest, the buyers can make suggestions and the program people will, the program people can make suggestions, the buyers will take them seriously. But ultimately, they are the ones that decide who gets the contract and not the federal employees of the agency themselves. Although I do have to add that their suggestions are very, very, very much taken seriously, and it makes their job easier. So like, oh, you got somebody? I got you. There we go. So even though
wait a minute, that doesn't sound like fair and open competition that the FAR says you have to do, Irene. That sounds unfair.
It's not, but being from the inside, I can tell you that's exactly how it works.
Oh, that's exactly how it works. Because guess what? It's having relationships makes the difference in everything that you do.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what the difference is. All right. So let's get through this. Let's see. We got a lot of folks that want to reach buyers, program managers. Some want to reach prime contract holders. Some want to sell to primes, right? And federal employees, right? Some want to reach end users. And if you have any ideas of what you want, so GovBrief, so if you're answering that question, I want to see if GovBrief can help. GovBrief is going to be able to help in 2024 because it's too late to build relationships. Now it's going to be all reaction. And we're going to talk a lot about, I'm talking about for Q4, but we're talking about, when does the next fiscal year start, Irene?
In October.
October what?
1st. It
all starts all over again. So here's the hot seat questions for today. How do you get a direct sole source award, fiscal year opportunities marketing, and without a dedicated government salesperson, is it possible to win business? I love these questions. Everybody like these questions? That's what we're going to do. We'll get there. So Jennifer from Crown Grace International asked the question, how do I get direct sole source awards? Irene, I'm going to give you first shot.
Well, the best way really is to become a subcontractor to a prime first. That way, The government doesn't like risk, and agencies, and that's why the suggestions from the agencies matter so much, because they've already worked with these people. They know how they work. And so the best way to get into that would be to get a subcontract from a prime. That way the prime can recommend you and the agency gets to know you, kind of make your name in there. And that would be the best recommendation to get an award. Because if I can tell you, look on SAM.gov and good luck to you, but I mean, seriously, good luck to you.
We'll talk about the good luck to you on SAM.gov, but let's talk about just sole source. How does sole source or direct contracts work? How do they work for you, Irene? How did you used to do sole source awards when you were a Govy?
Well, I was never in the whole program acquisition thing. Right. I was never in procurement. But we talked a lot about this because where I worked, contractors were basically keeping everything running, from our very broken elevators to the 500 typewriters that we randomly bought at the end of the fiscal year. So we would always hear like, oh, this company is working on this and this company is working on that. And then ultimately, actually, one of the wardens at the Bureau of Prisons was arrested for unfairly giving contracts to somebody he was getting kickbacks from. So big no, don't do that. But
no, don't do that. No, you can't do that. But so direct award and sole source contracts, there's a lot of different ways that these happen. You mentioned one is you can actually, as a sub, it doesn't have to go out to bid like everybody else does, right? So let's talk. Rafa, tell me about sole source awards and some of the different methodologies that you know of where buyers can gain access to somebody and buy without having to compete for anything. How does that work?
Well, this I can speak to because I've been a procurement executive in the Fortune 500 and I've worked in the government space as well. So here's what happens, right? You have to get involved early on in before the acquisition strategy. The government has defined its acquisition strategy. And typically they go through market research phase, right? When they're putting their plan together and putting feelers out. These things are called sources sought notifications, right? And then during this phase, it is very, very important that you prepare a compelling, convincing, thorough, and accurate document, right? It's a sources sought notification capability statement, very different from the ones you see online that have all the graphics and such. These are typically Microsoft Word with references and everything, and they're part of a pre-qualification package, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. So it's important to get your quals in front of those that are looking to source qualified providers of goods and services, right, for their mission objectives. So here's what happens, right? Go ahead.
I was going to ask you. So, and one of the things that they're looking for, obviously, they're looking for somebody that can complete the work, right? Yes. That's the first thing. But the other part of that they're looking for is they may have a socioeconomic status.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Which is all part of what you're saying, because they may be looking for a specific. They may say, hey, I want to see if there's a woman-owned company that can do this, or I want to see if there's a service-disabled company, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And whose job is it to tell them who is available for and has those certifications? Whose job?
Your job.
Whose job? Whose job is it?
It's your job.
It's your job. That's right. Yeah. You better be bringing it to them, because they're not going to find you on SAM.gov or in the SBA database, most likely, right? Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, they're gonna start the research there, Dave. And if you give them a first good impression, right, they can narrow it down to either a specific category purchase. In other words, it's a veteran-owned small business set aside, or it can become a sole source if you did your research and were able to fulfill one of 5 criteria that they need to fulfill in order for that to be a sole source justification award. Okay.
Okay. So you mentioned something else too. Justification can come as a socioeconomic, but it can also come from having proprietary capabilities and proprietary processes or product, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, and things are changing now with the way you self-identify. But that could be a whole other webinar in itself, the whole thing going on with the 8A and the SBAs in hot water and that whole thing.
Right.
So, so the question for everybody that just came in is, how do I get a direct sole source award? So there's a lot of different ways that this happens. And I can tell you that, and when I think about these things, I look at it as relationship driven first, always. If we can get to the buyer and we can provide them, I think you mentioned it too, Rafa, you have a justification and approval process that is available to you by the FAR. Because the FAR says you shall provide this for full and open competition. Ladies and gentlemen, if you walk away from anything from here today, is most is not going to hit the street. And when I say most, I'm saying 98%. Never, ever, ever are you going to know about. So go ahead.
I was going to say, you can also do pilots. I've had a lot of clients that I've helped get in with a pilot because they'll allow you maybe under $100,000 pilot or $500,000 pilot to prove yourself, because there is money for that, even though if it's a sole source justification.
That's true. So that's another way, Sally. Great pull in. So you mentioned one thing. It's 250,000 is really the place to be putting your pilot. So it's under simplified acquisition. So they can purchase from you directly and they will use that as your justification. And the justification and approval process for under $250,000 comes directly from the contracting officer. They don't need any other authority at all. And they can award that pilot or as with just the justification part. This is what's really, really cool about some of the federal contracting that we're talking about. There's multiple ways to gain a sole source award or a direct award. So sole source can follow the track of socioeconomic. And yes, guess what? Woman-owned, HUBZone, service disabled, veteran-owned. They all have the capacity to be awarded with a sole source. Well, you see most of them in the 8A program, right, Rafa?
That's right. That's right.
And Peter, you know a little bit about the 8A program. Tell us what you do for folks, not just what you do, but what buyers look for in order to be able to award a sole source to an 8A. What do you see?
Well, typically they're going to want to know you've got the experience. And number two, they're going to want to know that you've got the financial capability to perform on these contracts. Because a lot of the 8A companies, they're young, they've got low revenues, and so they're going to want to make sure that you've got that financial capability to perform. And based upon what we do with the lending to the opportunity, we finance companies that are brand new.
Yeah,
we finance companies that are losing money. We finance companies. I've got a couple companies in bankruptcy that we're financing. So we're there to really help them and guide them through that process and make sure that if you win a government award, you better perform and you better not miss payroll, because if you miss payroll, you've got a big problem with future government awards.
So one of the things you brought up there is that you have to have the capabilities. You have to have your 8A. If you're doing 8A, right? So you're an 8A, but you have to have the wherewithal in order to convince them to reduce the risk. Who was talking about risk? Irene, you were talking about risk, right?
I was. The government doesn't like it.
They don't like it at all. And contracting officers are the ones that are most risk averse, because they're the ones that can bind you with the federal government on a contract. And if they do something wrong, they can get hauled into Congress or thrown in a pokey, as you mentioned, Irene.
Yeah.
We don't want to go there. None of us want to go there. So
and the risk aversion starts at the 8A level. They won't approve you for an 8A. Even before you start applying for contracts, they won't even approve you for an 8A if your financials are looking dodgy. However, if you get a letter from Peter Timbus, like a lot of my clients have done, approval guaranteed.
That's a beautiful thing. So let's talk about the stakeholders here, because I think it's important, especially for folks that are new, to know, and you mentioned this as well. Let's look at like the structure of how the government is. You have your political appointees. Somebody mentioned political. This is not necessarily even, I mean, do have your elected officials, and then they appoint politicals, right? And then right beneath them are your senior executive services and your directors, your GS-15, some of the senior people that are involved in the organizations. And then it splits down into the program side and procurement side. So what's real important for everybody to know is these are two completely different audiences that you're talking to. One, they care about getting the job done. The other care about getting the contract done. Now, you might think they're the same people. They are not the same people, and they have decisions that get made differently. So what happens? There's a need, and they throw it over the fence to procurement. They say, I want to buy something, because the program people can't buy it. It's against the law. So they throw it over the fence to procurement. Procurement has no idea how good you are at what you do, and they don't even care, because they care about getting the contract done. And they do care about socioeconomic search. They can't, because they have those check boxes they have to meet, right, Irene?
Absolutely.
So they have to do that. And so I will tell you that we use what's called a winnable opportunity matrix. It's not in the handouts because I don't have the handouts today, but I'll get these out to you. A winnable opportunity matrix, the way it looks is you have the program person that throws it over the fence of contracting. We need to have relationships with these people, because these are the two people that they create the opportunity. This is when an opportunity becomes real. It's funded. There's somebody that's going to run it, and there's a contracting officer that does this. And this results in an award. And as I mentioned earlier, and yes, I am going to tell you about SAM.gov for a few minutes, because if you're not paying attention to what happens in the award, you will never, ever, ever, ever see it. You'll never know that it happened, and you'll never be able to compete for it, because you can't compete for something that you can't see. So here's what I want to show you right now. If you know that there's an amount that's awarded, and it's awarded by NAICS codes, everybody's got one, right, Rafa?
That's right.
Everybody's got one. And then we can see the number of offers received. And if you take a look at this one, what do you see? What does it say? What does it say? Uno, one. How does that happen? Is it a sole source award? Is it a direct award? What does that mean? It means somewhere along the line, there's a relationship between that buyer and that contractor, and they have it sewn up. Is it fair? No. It is totally unfair if you're not that contractor. But you can be that contractor. And I'm telling you, you're going to see this happen over and over again. When you see this on SAM Radar, you will not, if you don't believe me, just watch it happen. And you can see it happen on FPDS. We're pulling the information from FPDS.gov. That's where the information comes from. Not making it up. Two government systems, SAM.gov, FPDS. That's your comparison. That's all you have to do. When somebody showed me FPDS in 2009, my head exploded, because I said, how in the world are all these contracts happening? 7 million contracts a year, 125 to 140,000 hit on SAM.gov. Your brain should be saying, where are they? That's what you'd be thinking. Where are they? And how do I inject myself into that conversation? And sole source awards can happen simply by knowing the contracting officer. So there you go. All right. So hot seat question number 2, fiscal year end marketing opportunities. What are we talking about, Rafael Marrero, about fiscal year end? We started to talk about it before. What does that mean to us when it comes to fiscal year end?
I'll tell you right now, the most important things right now is to literally spit shine your materials and get what you have and really, really get it in shape. For example, you can go to your dynamic small business search profile, right, which belongs to the SBA, and one that you should thoroughly review, right? And if you need help, let us know. And embed a URL link directly to your capabilities.
And that's new, right, Rafa?
That is brand new. But get this, all these years, Dave, we've been doing it by linking their website link to the capabilities tab on our contractors' websites, right?
Right.
So
right. I know you've been doing it for years.
We were early.
The government finally caught up and put a link Like
they're like,
you would
who
think.
is this guy? Why is he doing this? Right.
And the 8A program now requires them in the application.
Yep. So pretty much, I mean, they're the standard, Dave. So, you're gonna start year end right now. You've got to get your capability statement polished up and sharpened. If you don't have one, give us a call. We can help you. The other thing is you got to get capabilities briefing in place, because your resume, okay, is your capability statement. That'll get you the interview, or that'll get someone's attention, right? If you get the interview via Zoom, via phone, via face-to-face, you need to have a polished presentation that states exactly what the government is looking for during these brief, high-level exchanges of capabilities, right? That's what you want to communicate, right? And then last but not least, you want to have your website, you want to make sure that you have a government tab. Your business cards are pretty much like a miniature capability statement, right? And you need to have your codes on there, socioeconomic certs, your contact information, and on the back of your card, we're including a nice QR code so that it takes them directly to the capabilities tab on your website or to your capability statement. It's very important right now to punch up your SAM, your DSPS, polish up your capability statement, right? Have a canned, well-written, brief introductory email that you can attach, and always include your UEI cage code in the subject line.
Yep. And so that's what, so you have your capability statement and keeping that brief. I'm talking super brief. I'm big on bullet points, right? So I like to do 3 bullet points. Remember, and then that say these, when you see these things, this is what we do. 3 brief. I'm talking bullet points, not bullet paragraphs. Bullet points, right? Nobody's reading a novel. Right. And by the time we get into the middle of September, I'm going to tell people 1 bullet point, and that's it, because that's all you're going to get from them. But right now, you can still get out in front of it a little bit and say, look, this is what we do. Remember, we're 8A. We have a GSA contract, whatever it is you have. If you don't have anything and you're just a small business, that's okay, too. Don't stress, because you can only sell what you have. But one of the things I want to direct people to real quick is, if you're looking at a SAM radar notification, you're going to have a buyer. We got to know who these people are. We can't send it to, we can't just send it to nobody. So once you have your capabilities and all those things that you want to say, you got to get to the buyers, and the buyers have got to know you, because if they don't know you, they're not going to buy from you. They already have relationships with people they're buying stuff from, and you want to be one of them. And we know this is the case because of this. If you look at this, and you need this report, we'll get you this report as well. This report shows you that 75% are not going anywhere. And we're talking about 75% of 7 million awards. Folks, this is the way that it really works. Don't let anybody blow sunshine and tell you it doesn't. It works through relationships, and your competitors have them and you don't. And that's the big problem. So once we get to that point, well, we'll have another. I do have a couple of questions that I will get to. That if you're asking about my information, let's see. Do you need? So this is the hot seat question that we have for 2. So fiscal year, watch this, Rafa. I need to send out capabilities. You are correct. And you need to let buyers know you have a contract vehicle. You are correct. You need to watch SAM.gov. Yes, you should, because guess who shows up on SAM.gov? The buyers show up there. And you need to watch FPDS. You know who shows up there? The buyers show up there. Little weirdo. But, and the folks that need a capability statement, you will hear from Rafael Marrero today. Right, Rafa?
That's right. Following this call.
That's right. We will make sure you get it. So with that, I do have a question about researching buyers. Do you get paid for researching? Or do you get paid when you freaking sell something?
When you sell something.
When you freaking sell something, right, Sally?
That's correct.
So, and the reason why we're asking that is you can check that out. You can check out Sam Radar, because that's going to get you to the stuff that's not going there. All right. We got any questions? We have a couple questions here. My product is software as a service. Love it. Internet senior home safety assessment. Love it. How do I know that there's a market in the government for this product? Dr. Jill, that is a great question. It's something that we've done for years. And the answer is the government always, the answer is government buys everything. So the chances are they are buying what you have. And safety assessment is especially for seniors, they just don't know that you exist. Jill, Dr. Jill. So yes, the answer, we can run a report and do intelligence and say, this is what this is what it looks like. The challenge is with any type of niche oriented software or product or service, right? Anything that's niche oriented, the government doesn't know what to do with you. There's not an ACE code for you, Dr. Jill, right? So we're going to have to dig down a little bit deeper and say, who are the people that are using it? The way that I like to do it is to say, hey, how's it happening in the commercial sector? And it will likely mirror that. Would you agree with that, Rafa? If
Absolutely.
working
Absolutely.
this way, and now the red tape and all the rest of the crap they do to us, right? But for the most part, right, that's going to be what's going to happen. We're going to mirror what we're doing in the commercial sector. Does anybody disagree with that? Irene, you agree with that as well?
No, completely. And I mean, if it's a new software or something proprietary, there's also the option of OTAs, other
Ooh,
transaction
like that.
authorities.
What's that mean? What's that mean?
Means other transaction authority. Now, however, not all agencies are authorized to give OTAs, but you have NASA, you have the Department of Defense, and that's a huge one right there. So anytime you have something proprietary that hasn't been seen before, or something like that, or you are patenting it, then you can use an OTA to kind of try to get them to get on board and maybe even fund your research.
We could do a whole briefing on that one.
Absolutely.
We could talk about that all day. And Tammy's asking, what goes in the subject line? I love this question. Rafael Moreira, what would you put in the subject line?
I would say updated capes for UEI and then put your number on it.
Oh my God.
Done. I'm going to order
That's
those now.
fantastic. So updated capabilities. And this is a really cool twist, right? So if you say updated capabilities and you push that out, there's like, hey, this is updated, right? So it's updated. I don't care if you update it at all. Do you care, Rafa?
No, it's going to catch their attention.
That's right. And you have the UEI and the name of the company because that's what they want to know. Fantastic. That's great. I'm going to end this poll in 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to share it. You're right. You get paid for selling something. Most of us. Now that we do have a data nerd. Love that. I'm a data nerd as well. So I can call us this because I am one of those characters. So and Dr. Jill says, I nailed the answer. All right. I actually did something right, believe it or not. Now I appreciate that. All right. So hot seat question number 3. Let's get to it. Without a dedicated government salesperson, how feasible is it to implement a federal type of, how feasible is it to be successful? This is a great question. I really appreciate this question, Susan. So how feasible is it? Go ahead, Rafa, you tell me, how feasible is it? Because no matter what, you got to dedicate the time. Sally, you're going to be up
put
next.
in the time. You've got to put in the time, Dave, and there are multiple tasks. This is by in and of itself, it's not a one-person show, right? It shouldn't be. But the reality is most solopreneurs and small businesses that are starting out, right, they're going to have this challenge. That's why I always say, start by becoming a subcontractor and focus on the smaller threshold opportunities because your chances of winning are going to be greater. You should be looking at SAM Radar to look at simplified acquisitions and micro purchases, right? That's your universe right now. If you're a small shop and if you're doing under a certain dollar amount. The other thing is you need to break down your tasks, and these are repetitive. They're time consuming. You need to be allocating at least 10 or more hours a week to this task, right? To make sure that you're getting traction. And you should be touching your different touch points in your top 5 agencies at least once every 3 weeks, right? Because that's the way to stay top of mind. But these are real world examples, from experience based on the years of experience that I have working with vendors, both in the large Fortune 500 world and in the government procurement space. So it's very important to have that in mind.
I love that answer. Sally, what do you have to throw in on that?
I put in the chat that in addition to all the brilliant things that Raphael said and all the rest of you, once you determine who your buyer is and who's buying your superpower services and products, you also want to make sure that you're updating your LinkedIn page. Now, updating your LinkedIn profile and your business page is basically free. You want to make sure it's on brand. If your website doesn't look like your LinkedIn page, you want to make sure it does. And as we know, Dr. Marrero and his team can help with that. But you really want to make sure your keywords are in place, because we do a lot of searches on LinkedIn to find out exactly the buyer personas and target markets. So you can come up with a lot of lists that are free. And then if you want to extend to LinkedIn Navigator, you can actually go to second and third level connections. So having those relationships with executives in the various government entities with whom you're talking is really helpful, because then you can do sort of a 360. You're talking to the buyers, you're talking to the program manager, you're talking to the executives, and it all comes together to help you have that relationship, as Dave and others mentioned.
And I love that, Sally. I think your perspective is absolutely right. There's processes you have to prioritize. No matter what, we all have to prioritize, right, Rafa? Because if we're not prioritizing, we're not going to do it anyway. So when I got into this back in 2009, I actually went in to fill a gap, and that was the people that can't afford a representative in DC. I became the representative, kind of parsed it out part-time because it's really expensive. If you're hiring somebody full-time, it's really expensive. So, and I wasn't cheap, even though I wasn't full-time for them, but because I was here and I had the ability to be able to sell into the market. I don't do that anymore, so I'm not pitching anybody. I think there's a huge gap for that, and people are asking us for it. I talked to Rob, who's on my team as well. So we're going to fill that. We're going to figure out a way to fill that gap at some point in the next 6 months. This team, we're going to work together to find a way to fill that gap, because it's important to be filled that doesn't exist anymore, at least not from ISI Federal. So that's one part of it, and then the other part, I think you mentioned it, Rafa, you were spot on this. Micro purchases, subcontracting. Irene, you mentioned it too.
So good to see you.
And simplified acquisitions are the ways. Don't this is a biblical term from Zechariah 4:10. Look at me dropping it right here. Do not despise small beginnings. You don't have to try to boil the ocean. Pick a very niche oriented market to go after. It's better to be niche. Does everybody agree that too?
Absolutely.
And you see it all the time, don't you, Irene? You see people that walk, we have 50 NAICS codes that they have on SAM.gov. And we do everything IT. No way.
Yeah.
No.
And that's the first advice I give them is, don't be jack of all trades, because then how good are you at what the government is trying to hire you for? And that's how they're going to see it.
Love that. Love it. Because if you're not targeting, it's very difficult to target. So Dr. Jill, you have a very niche oriented thing that you're doing, very niche. And yes, that presents different challenges because they don't know what that means, right? Mm-hmm. A commodity, even if you're doing commodities, right? If you do a commoditized sale, you want to do your best to find a niche within that commodity. And that way you can start to garner attention. And then, by God, be out in front of them all the time. That's the other part that I would say. Anything else you guys want to throw in on that question? Because I really, really like this question about getting out in front of folks, right? And how feasible is it if you only have if it's just you? And we do have folks that are just them.
Like me, it's just me. I mean, I just have to say, I don't have a military background. Of course, I love our country. I say the Pledge of Allegiance. I wear a little flag on my lapel, but I am not somebody who has a pay grade that warrants me being able to have anything to do with helping anyone in this business. However, Dave recognized that, helped me learn a lot. I've gone to conferences. I'm pretty smart. I learn quickly, and I am literally connected to the Secretary of the Navy. I'm connected to 3 stars. I'm connected now to all the major primes for spending $15 billion, only because I know who they are. Again, SAM Radar. I have a brand. I know what I do, and I go to conferences and I build relationships. I volunteer. And so for all intents and purposes, somebody like me, Sally White, Echo Wolf, Lone Wolf, should not be able to do what I do in this business. And so if I can do it, it's sort of like the Geico caveman. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And with Sam Radar, so can you. And all these people.
You're so right. And when I started back in 2007, originally, I didn't know anything. And it can be done. We all start somewhere. There's nobody just dropped into a $10 million contract. Nobody does. So don't expect that as part of your process either. So let's get folks out of here. Number one, what's happening right now? You want to monitor SAM.gov. It turns into reactionary from here until the end of September. After September, put this on the calendar for October 1st. Build freaking relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you do should be revolving around building those relationships. Your competition, the prime contractors that are winning right now have the relationship, and they have a completely legit and totally unfair advantage. It's totally unfair to you because they have a relationship. Your job, build relationships, October 1st. Everything that you do right now, you're going to collect all this information. You're going to shoot out bids. You're going to find something that you can bid on. Do not be afraid to bid if you have the capacity to do it. Timelines are going to shrink, and your competitors also cannot respond to all the RFPs that are going to be hitting within your NAICS, right? Everybody agree with that too?
Absolutely.
Find this. What you need to do is distill these as quickly as possible. And if you're wondering how to do that, Sam Radar helps you do it. Why? Because you see it right away and you can respond. You have more time and you can go through and say, nope, 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 nope. Yes. Then you spend your time on what you can win and make sure you get those bids submitted. And here's the final pieces for everybody today. Get moving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care whether you're starting today or you've been doing it for 40 years, get moving and make sure, because you can't steer a parked car. That kept coming up this past week. You cannot steer a parked car. If you're sitting there thinking about whether or not you want to do this, stop and move. Just get your foot off the brake and get moving. Now, manage your expectations because it is not going to happen overnight. You probably have the better opportunity right now in the next 45 days to win something than you do the rest of the year up to this point. If you're just brand new, good time to start. Would you agree, Rafa?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good time to start.
And if your service,
oh, go ahead, Irene. What do you got?
Yeah, if your service is a commodity or not, a need, then now is the best time for you, because let's say you're a photographer and the Department of Defense needed new pictures for their website, but that's not exactly a need. So they'll wait to see, okay, let's see how our budget plays out. But now towards the end, where they know how much they're going to have left over and how much they need to use, now is when they're going to start putting out all these lucrative contracts, like for 500 typewriters. And that was your chance to get one of those, as if your service is a commodity.
And do you know that they actually spent money on typewriters last year because they had to spend money?
They had to spend money.
It is so stupid what sometimes we see. And
by the way, because I still have friends in the bureau, and they're still sitting in storage. That was 2 years ago.
Oh my God. It is absolutely insane. So, but somebody sold them. That's the thing. Somebody and I was talking to somebody the other day, and he's actually from NOAA. So I'm going to bring this up to the Monday roundtables. If you're signed up for Sam Radar, you get into Monday roundtables, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But here's what his whole thing was. He goes crazy at the end of the fiscal year because of what they do, but I'm like, hey, somebody's going to win that money. Somebody's going to cash those checks. Might as well be us. Everybody agree here? Might as well be freaking us that wins. Mm-hmm. So look and act like you belong. You're seeing the Rafael Marrero, the character. Look and act like you belong. Look at it. He looks like he belongs. He looks like
I'm running for Sam Radar.
And then be persistent and persevere. This is a marathon, ladies and gentlemen, and everything starts over on the 1st of October, where you can start to build those relationships. Hard to do that between now and the end of September. Maybe you'll be able to get one. Guess what? That's fine. That's luck. Don't look at your federal sales strategy as luck. Right, Peter Timbus? It is not about luck. It's about being there and persevering. Would you agree?
I agree. And it's time, and this is directed to the participants, it's time to leave your comfort zone, stop procrastinating, relieving tension, and get on the road to success by utilizing the team that Dave has put together. I've been doing this a long time. It's time to leave your comfort zone and do something different and be proactive.
Love it. Love it, man. Love it. All right. So I'm going to ask, what do you need? Do you need market intelligence and marketing materials, responding to RFPs, LinkedIn help, socioeconomic search, funding, Congress and speaking, foreign CPARs, and when do you need it? That's when the question is. And we're going to get everybody out of here because I have got to jump on my session that's coming up. I'll show you one more time as we get there. But here, I want everybody to do this right now. Go to samradar.com and sign up for 7 days. You're going to see things that you're never going to see, never. And you'll be engaged with other people that are on the journey with you. And I'm telling you, business is happening every single Monday. Who was there on Monday? Sally, you weren't. Were you there? You weren't there.
Yeah, I was there.
Rafa.
I was there.
Oh yeah, you were there.
Amazing. It was amazing.
We have
like,
people
"What's the
saying,
deal?"
I need teaming partners to do this project right now that they already won. SamRadar.com, sign up today. I'm telling you, you're gonna it's gonna change your life. All right, coming up, I want to point everybody to govbrief.us. Let us know what you think of the new website, because that is some place that you can learn more. I'm going to be talking about SAM.gov, the tutorial today. If you want to reach program managers, this is Alberto Lugo, one of my buds. It's for reaching Govies. It's made and built to reach Govies. We're going to be having a call for presenters for 2024. We're not doing any more in 2023 because they're not going to show up to listen to you. And the last ones we're going to do is in a week and a half. And otherwise, we will all see you September 12th. I will be on SAM.gov tutorial today. You can find that on govbrief.us. And with that, we want to get you cats out of here. Thank you so much, Rafa. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
It's awesome. And we do have one question. What about selling environmental infrastructure equipment, which is product specific, not off the shelf? Love that. Examples are like water purification systems for national parks or wastewater pump stations for NPS military bases. Darby and Ritter, you got a product that they will buy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the answer is identify the buyers that are number one, who in your target agencies. Number two, who buys those types of things, who's responsible for facilities within those organizations, and they're not looking for necessarily what you have. You've got to take it to them. Tell them what you got. And that's why you need a great capability statement. That's why you need a marketing plan. And that's why you need folks like us to be able to help you get there. That's all I got to say about that. So Darby and Ritter, hopefully that helps. The answer is yes, they do. They will buy. And did I miss anything else in here? Awesome. I appreciate that. And look at that. Raphael looks so dapper. That's right. At least one of us looks like we belong. All right, guys.
Back in.
I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll. Anything that you ask for, you will get a response from somebody on this team. And even if they're not here, you will get that response. Great to see everybody. And if you want to meet me at 1:00, I'll be talking about SAM.gov right at 1:00. That's less than an hour from now. So, and if you want a SAM Radar tutorial, a SAM Radar demo, we'll make sure you get that too. All right, guys. What else we got? Anything else? Thank you, Irene. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And Peter, you're awesome too. I don't care what anybody
Thanks,
says.
David.
Hey, Dave, we're doing a webinar like next week, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
We're talking about capabilities marketing. Yes, we are.
That's right. So
That's
for those
right.
of you that want to learn more, I highly recommend that you attend Dave's webinar. I'm going to bring you the good stuff. I'm going to give you inside scoop on how to look your best and how to communicate your value through effective contractor capabilities marketing, right? It's a niche approach, and you can learn a thing or two about how it's done.
And you can also find that on GovBrief. That's on
That's right.
govbrief.us. So if you haven't been to govbrief.us, I do want people to tell me what they think of it. We're still working out some of the kinks, as you do with any system, but I'm telling you what, it's enterprise level now, and it's rocking.
That it is. That it is.
A lot of fun. So anyway, thank you guys. You're the best.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate you guys. I got to prep for this 1 p.m. And if you're up to it, join me at 1 p.m.